Hi guys, today we're going to read The Story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf. It's a story about a bull. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. Very playful. But not Ferdinand. He liked to sit just quietly and smell the flowers. And there he sat in a flower patch. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. And that's where he was walking to, right out to the cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day long and smell the flowers. There's Ferdinand. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head? But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here where I can sit just quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. So his mother walked away, knowing that even though Ferdinand wasn't doing anything except sitting under the tree and enjoying the flowers, he was happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and very strong, just like most bulls. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day long. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. On day 5, men came in with funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. There they were. All the other bulls ran around, snorting and butting and leaping and jumping so the men would think that they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. So there they were, all showing off how strong they were. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. So Ferdinand wasn't competing with the rest of them. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat right down on a bumblebee. Oh! Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him, and that's just what this bee did to Ferdinand. And look at Ferdinand's eyes, big wide eyes. Oh, the bee stung him. Wow, did it hurt. Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. Look at him, right up in the air. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest and fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. Uh-oh. They thought that Ferdinand was showing off how strong he was, butting and kicking. But Ferdinand was just really jumping around because he just sat on a bee. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. Oh my goodness. So there's Ferdinand going to the bullfights. What a day it was. Flags were flying, bands were playing. Big celebration in Madrid. And all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. There they all were, waiting for the bullfights to start. They had a parade into the bull ring. Horses and fancy dressed men. First came the banderilleros, with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadors, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him even madder. That doesn't sound fun. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought that he was very handsome, and he bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. There's the matador. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand, right? They call him Ferdinand. Ferdinand the Fierce, and the banderilleros were afraid of him, and the picadors were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. They're all waiting. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the lovely ladies' hair. And he just sat down quietly and he smelled. So there's Ferdinand. They thought he was going to come in and kick his legs up in the air and snort. And he sat down and he was sniffing, taking big sniffs in to smell the flowers. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what he did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderilleros were mad, and the picadors were madder, and the matador was so mad that he cried because he couldn't show off his cape and his sword. So there's Ferdinand, and there's everyone else, and they are so upset. This wasn't the way it was supposed to go. So they had to take Ferdinand home. They put him back in the wagon, and off they went back home. And for all I know, he is still sitting there under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. And he is very happy. So Ferdinand might not have been your typical bull, but he was a happy bull. Thanks, guys.